Basic GCSE physics, basic science that we learn at school, tells us that the emissions that we're putting out from burning fossil fuels, the carbon dioxide, is going to change the climate, is already changing the climate. Our basic science that we learn at school tells us that.
The 28th of June last year, there's about 2 hours of quite intense rainfall, around about 110 millimetres in just over 2 hours. It was in the middle of the city, so we're not talking about flooding from the river, we're talking about flooding directly from rainfall.
I met Alice last year and we got on immediately, and I love the work that she commissions. This collaboration with Invisible Dust was an opportunity for us to look at some of the areas that her work explores and her commissions explore, but within the context of the Great North Run and what we do at Great North Run culture. And Adam's piece is a perfect example of that, I think.
So the piece is called Rising, and it's being played, it's being broadcast on Basic FM at the point where the run is finishing. So it's very directly aimed at people who have completed the race either as runners or as spectators and are kind of going home and have finished. Its existence as a kind of radio broadcast is one way it's being mediated, and then also today we're doing a performance of it at the Tyneside Cinema.
So Adam Chodzko's piece has been developed through a number of scientific relationships. It's been developed through working with Dr. Claire Walsh, but also through the Invisible Heat project. This is a new project that Invisible Dust is creating, and we're just at the research stage of it now, and very excitingly Adam's created Rising as part of that, and he's quite interested with the flooding and maybe that human bodies may change in the future, grow gills, become more aquatic with the need to actually live underwater.
Climate change is clearly one of the biggest questions I think we have scientifically at the moment about the threats that accompany it, the responses we need to how to take action to try to limit climate change if we can. A large component is interested in questions of climate change and health, so asking questions about in what ways does the weather, or as a kind of indicator of climate change, how does that affect health through such things as raised temperatures, extreme weather events, changes in the distributions of disease in populations.
So yeah, I mean, something that I found really fascinating within the Invisible Heat Dialogue Day is that there's all this sort of scientific fact about what global warming is doing, and about carbon emissions and all the rest of it. What I find fascinating is that people can be presented with that factual evidence and yet still somehow personally, on a personal level, can make a decision that maybe other people need to stop driving so much, for instance, or flying, but personally you need to, and it's sort of justified. So there's a sort of weird narcissistic way in which I think we like to count ourselves, you know, we're concerned and we see it as being sort of hugely important, yet at the same time manage to carry on behaving in a way that we find comfortable.
It kind of takes you to a particular place. It's a kind of an imaginative leap I think that happens when you're kind of thinking about how you're trying to kind of connect to this sort of idea of rising water levels with this connection with the Great North Run or runners. So yeah, it's a strange and incredibly immersive experience. The sound of the voice and the kind of the journey that voice takes you on is really beautiful.
Right now, I'm where am I? I can't quite tell. It's on the top of a roof. The pale green roof of the Royal Infirmary. Ahead of me I can see the little islands made by the tops of the Civic Center and the floating pontoon track stretching between them and Shieldfield House, heading, I guess, well, south for a bit over where the river used to be, then east out to the end to where the sea used to be. Now the sea is here. This was the route of the final run. I only started a day or so ago, but already the recently raised pontoon is partly submerged again. The water's been rising so fast.
The piece becomes, and you know, for me, a kind of exploration or an idea of kind of programming, that if somehow in a kind of half asleep state and put people in the kind of half asleep state, portray this sort of notion of a flooded Newcastle. Perhaps somehow that will enter the subconscious enough to trigger a kind of behavioural change in the sort of normal, daily reality.
Okay. So counting down from 10. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3.